Alrighty, let's wrap up the final books that I read in 2023, which are all of my December reads. I had, again, a great reading month in December. I read 12 books, or 13, I read 13 books in December, and I'm only going to talk about 12 because I would actually recommend 12 of them. So I'm not going to talk about the one that I wouldn't. So anyways, let's go ahead and kick this off with one of my most anticipated releases of the end of 2023 that I did read. Come on. And that is Knock Knock by Nordica Night. So this one is the third book in the From Nothing series. The first two books are Garen Park and Lot 62, which y'all know how obsessed I have been with both of those books. And this one is the third one, but it follows a different couple. It follows the older brothers of Devin and Maddox. This one is Xavi and Nate. Well, I was really anticipating this one. It is very different than Garen Park and Lot 62 because this one is friends to lovers, and these two definitely have a very good bond together and they don't hate each other like their younger brothers do. So I personally, you could pick this one up if you just wanted to go ahead and jump in, but I personally would recommend starting with Garen Park and Lot 62 and then going into Knock Knock, but you can do whatever you want. You could read this as a standalone if you wanted. They live together, they're roommates, they're best friends. People have always known them as being a duo, and they have been having an arrangement with multiple women that they, or not like multiple women, but I guess like over the course, like not at the same time, but they always find themselves in a relationship with the same woman because they like to share. And then they both start individually realizing that the real reason why they only even really like these arrangements is because they get to also be with each other, and that they don't even really like want anyone else involved in it, but they're both very scared of ruining the friendship with their best friend. But eventually it really starts to affect their friendship that they're both kind of like harboring this attraction for the other, and that neither of them want to be the one to say it, and eventually they end up kind of caving, letting each other know, and they end up getting together. There's definitely like a little bit of miscommunication at the beginning, but these two are just very playful. They're very fun together. The vibe is very light. You just see them trying to figure out life. They've always kind of been the butt of jokes. They like don't take anything very seriously, and now as adults they're like really trying to prove that, you know, like they can take things seriously and just kind of figure out their role and like what they want. It's really cute. I enjoyed it. Definitely not as much as Garen Park and Lot 62. Those two just will forever reign supreme, but I really enjoyed it. Next, I finished my reread of this thick boy, A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. So I had started I've been rereading the graphic audios of ACOTAR since they started coming out, and finally my hoopla got part 2 of Silver Flames. So I had already listened to part 1 like back at the beginning of the year, but I was waiting for part 2, and finally it came out, so I did finish Silver Flames. And I loved this book just as much the second time around. First of all, the graphic audios are incredible. If you are looking for a way to reread this series, I highly recommend the graphic audios. I don't know if I would recommend them on their first read through because I do feel like maybe you might miss some stuff because they are more like movies, but they're still amazing. And if you want to, I mean, once again, you do whatever you feel like doing. So I couldn't recommend the graphic audios enough. I absolutely loved them. And here's the thing with this book, that when this book originally came out, I read it in 2 days, which it's a thick book. It's like 800 pages. And I devoured it because I was getting ready to go on vacation and I didn't want to take this thick ass book on vacation with me. And I hadn't reread it since. And I feel like I just picked up on so much more the second time around. Nesta was a character that I didn't love heading into it, and I really enjoyed her journey a lot in this one, even more the second time around. I love Cassian and I really love seeing his character. I do wish he maybe had a little bit more, I think, like attention given to him and like his character growth, but I think him and Nesta's relationship together is just beautiful. I can't really talk about anything plot wise because this is the 5th book in that. I mean, like technically actually is it book 4? Because like does Frost and Starlight count? I don't know. It's later on in the ACOTAR series and you do have to read them all, but it's a fantasy. But I would say this is a great fantasy series for romance readers to jump into because it's very heavily romance focused and not as much heavy world building in it. I don't know. It's amazing. I love it. And I feel like everyone already has heard about ACOTAR, so I'm not going to sit here and try to explain it. You know what? I'm going to lump these 3 together. I had quite a few rereads that I listened to in the month of December, and I reread the first 3 books in the Twisted series by Anna Huang. If you have watched my channel for any length of time, you know how much I love this series, how much I love Anna Huang. She is one of my absolute favorite authors, and these series are some of my absolute favorite books. Twisted Hate was my top 3 of last year, and Twisted Love was so not technically last year, I guess 2022, and Twisted Love was in my top 5 of 2021. My hoopla had these, and I loved listening to them all again. So this first one is Grumpy Sunshine, brother's best friend, billionaire romance between Ava and Alex. So Ava is a photography student in college, and her brother is very protective of her, and as he is getting ready to go to another country to do some medical work, he ends up enlisting his best friend Alex to kind of watch out for Ava while he's gone. And Alex is this cold, ruthless billionaire who like has no emotions, nothing, and Ava is just this very sunshiny person who, even though she has some traumatic things in her past, she just like chooses to kind of look on the bright side of things. And when her and Alex start hanging out more, she tries to kind of pull some emotion out of him, and you know, they eventually end up falling in love, and it's so good. Alex Volkov is forever and always one of my favorite grumpy billionaire men. I just love the ice rage that this man has, and the way that he grovels is great. I love everything about this book, and I really loved listening to the audio of it again. And then Twisted Game. So this is the second book, and this is the one that I enjoyed the most on my reread, because when I first read this book, I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. But this overall, before I listened to them all on audio again, I would have ranked this one at the bottom. Like, I would have put it probably at number 4. And also Reese and Bridget, I would have put at number 4. After re-listening to this one, I fucking love these two, and I get why everyone is so obsessed with them. So this is a princess bodyguard, age gap, forbidden romance. So Bridget is the second in line to the throne of this small European country, Eldora, and she has been over in America going to school, and she's kind of like enjoying her freedom over there. And her one bodyguard ends up having a baby and like needing to go back to be with his wife back in his country. So Reese ends up becoming her new bodyguard, and immediately off the bat they start clashing because he's very much like, you're my client, and like I don't get involved in my client's personal life, you're just gonna like listen to my rules kind of thing. And Bridget liked the more casual kind of relationship that she had with her other boss, or with her other bodyguard. And they just kind of like butt heads right away. Reese is pretty grumpy. He's a former Navy SEAL. I think he's like retired military, and now he's in bodyguard services. And there's some stuff in his past as well, you know, that you'll learn throughout this. But basically what ends up happening is that Bridget, through some various circumstances that you learn when you read, she ends up becoming next in line for the throne, and she has to go back and become queen. And Reese ends up going with her, and obviously her being with her bodyguard is a no-no, but let me tell you, their relationship, I like felt the tension so much more between the two of them. I felt the attraction between them so much more. I felt like the longing that they had and the true like genuine connection that they did. I just felt it all so much more on this reread, that this book just really shined for me. I don't know what didn't click the first time around fully. Like I said, I still gave it 5 stars. I still loved it. But you know, there are books that you read and you love and enjoy and you give 5 stars and you're like, that was great, but you kind of move on. And there are other ones that you read and you're like, oh, like I feel that. I felt this one the second time around. So I don't know where I would rank Reese and Bridget, y'all. I don't know. I feel like it's not fair since I didn't read Twisted Lies again. My audio, or my Hoopla doesn't have that audio. Does anyone know? Is that like an Audible exclusive? Or what the deal is, why that one might not be on there? I don't know. I feel like it's not fair to make that assessment, but I think this one's gonna be past Twisted Lies now. Oh my god, I just loved them. I loved them. And then lastly, I reread my favorite, which is Twisted Hate, and I still think this is my favorite. Josh and Jules just are unmatched. Their hate is unmatched, and I don't care what anyone says about the one scene in here. You know what I'm talking about when Josh says I lied? I don't care. That shit is hot to me. I loved it. So this one follows Josh and Jules, and all of these can be read as standalones, by the way. So even though this is book 3, you could go ahead and just pick this one up. But Josh and Jules, so Jules is Ava's best friend and Josh is Ava's brother. So it's best friends, brother, hate to love, and like enemies with benefits kind of romance. And also one bed trope is in here, which I forgot about and is lovely. And caretaking is in here too, which Josh is... I love Josh. I love Josh. Jules, she is getting ready to graduate law school, and she's working to get like a partnership at this one firm, but it would look good if she had this like other kind of work on her resume. So she gets a job at this, I don't know, why can't I remember? I literally just read it. some sort of like, I don't think it's a nonprofit, but some sort of like medical system to help them like look over people's lawsuits and things, kind of like as an internship a little bit. And when she arrives there, she ends up learning that Josh also volunteers there to do some like medical care there because he is a doctor. And they just both have very like high power. They're both very career driven. They're both very dedicated to their various career paths. And they both hate each other because Jules overheard Josh trying to get Ava to drop her as a friend years ago. So they've just hated each other ever since. And this tension is like known about them. They both realize that they start to like reluctantly become very attracted to each other. And they're like, I don't like this. But because they're in kind of this situation where neither of them have time to date because they're both obviously very caring about their careers, that they decide, well, we could become like a benefits kind of situation between us. Like don't have to be feelings involved. We can just like, be with each other and still hate each other. And let me tell you, the thing that I love about this one is just that the hate burns very bright between them for very long. And even when they are attracted to each other, they still absolutely hate each other. And even when they start hooking up, they still hate each other. It's just so good. I hate when that like flips so quickly, but this one is like dragged out for a long time. And I just love that. There's more to it than that, but I'll let you read and find out. Absolutely love. My favorite in the Twisted series. Let's see now. So I didn't read those all back to back, but I just kind of wanted to lump them together. So another book that I read in December, which I already talked about in my top 10 because it did make it in the top 10 even though it was a late read in the year for me. That is Where There's a Will by Jessie Walker. I was so blown away by this book and I cannot wait to read book 2. So it's a duet. This is book 1. It ends on a cliffhanger. So this one follows Will and Waylon, and so it's like childhood friends to hate to, they're not even fully at love yet, but they do love each other. Very toxic, very messy, angsty romance, romance. Will and Way were best friends when they were younger until something happened when there was an incident and then Will's family ended up moving. And now, years in the future, they're both in their early 20s now. Will, I think he left college. I don't know if he graduated or not, but he has there was a death that happened in his life that he took very hard. And I'm not going to like say what it is. You'll like learn about it if you read, but he has been hit very hard by it. So he jumped on his motorcycle and has basically just been solo tripping around and just trying to run from his pain basically. And he ends up finding himself back in the town that he used to live in. And when he arrives there, he ends up running into an old friend who brings him over to his bar. And that is where he finds out that Waylon still lives there. And that Waylon works at this bar, is still best friends with this other friend, and that they're in a band together and they end up getting reconnected. Here's the thing, just as much pain and heartbreak as Will has gone through over the years, Waylon has gone through just as much pain and heartbreak. And all of these characters have seen such devastating things in their lives, and they truly are all just trying to make it through the day, basically. And Way is not happy to see Will back, and he's just really struggled, and he's still holding on to a lot of that resentment. And Will, though he doesn't want to leave, he can't help but being drawn to Way and the love that he had for who he was when they were kids and who they are now as adults. And it's very painful. It's dark. Definitely look up triggers for this one. Very heavy with mental health. And I truly felt everything between these two characters. I felt every bit of pain that they did every single time that, like, especially when Way like hits a rock bottom and you see it like through Will's eyes, it just like, it felt so devastating. And I just can't wait to read book 2. I absolutely loved this. And Lizelle was the one who recommended it to me. And Lizelle, I can't thank you enough for bringing this around because it was so beautiful. On a lighter note, I read another new release in December, which was Own Me by K.A. Tucker. I truly enjoyed this one a lot. So this is the 5th book in the Wolf Hotel series. It picks up like immediately after book 4, which I kind of like forgot about how that left off a little bit. So I was kind of trying to like find my bearings again at the beginning of this book. But this one, so you do have to read the first 4 books in order to read this one because they all follow Henry and Abby, the same couple. It's all told through Abby's POV, and it's a billionaire boss employee romance. So where you're at in this one though, Abby and Henry are engaged. I feel like that's not really a spoiler because obviously, if it's a romance series, like it's going to end happily. And this book is basically just like a continuation of their story. I can't really say too much about it because I don't want to give anything away, But I really enjoyed this. I liked the wedding planning. I loved just, again, like exploring the connection that Abby and Henry have. There's some plot twists in here that I didn't see coming, but I actually really liked in it. And yeah, overall, I just really enjoyed it. I would take like another book of these two characters. I don't think she has any plans of writing anymore, but if she ever did, I would just continue to read this couple because they're just fun. I love Henry. I love Henry. And also, there is nothing more attractive to me than just a man who is so comfortable and confident in himself. And that is Henry. He is very confident, very secure with himself, and I love that. And Abby loves it too. Next, I read The Puck's Secret by G.N. Wright. So this one is a hockey romance, and it is a teammates, brothers, kind of like rival a little bit. And well, actually, it is like hate to love because there's even deeper stuff with the family. So I forget now. And his name's Nova Darkmoor. I cannot remember her name. Princess Peters. What is her first name? Our heroine in this one, she is the mayor's daughter, the governor's daughter. So her family is very like prominent and pretty well known. And her dad has arranged a marriage for her basically because he wants to further his like political and business gains with this one guy, Chad. I remember his name. His name's Chad, isn't it? Or no, Brad. I think his name's Brad. I knew it was like some fuckboy name. And he arranges this marriage with this guy from her university that she absolutely hates, and he's like a piece of shit. And she's not having it, but basically he's holding all of the cards. He's like, if you either get married or like you get cut off, so then you have no money for school and like you're basically done for, so you're going to do what I say. And she is not happy about this. And Nova, he's on the hockey team, and he really, is her name Maddie? He really hates her. He hates her because his mom used to work for her dad, and her dad had an affair with his mom. Not like resulting in him, like not related, but had an affair. And then as soon as it was revealed, he like dropped the mom and like basically left her to fend for herself. So he has a lot of resentment towards this family, and he just has always kind of challenged the heroine. And as the course of the book goes on, you know, that hate has a very thin line because they both are attracted to each other and they reluctantly start hooking up, but obviously she is in this arranged marriage and he does not know about that. And there's also this little bit of like a secret identity thing coming into play with phone numbers. She accidentally texts him, which neither of them know who it is at the beginning. She accidentally texts him thinking that it's one of her friend's phone numbers, and they kind of have this online connection as well as starting to connect in person and not realizing that it's the same person. So that aspect was fun. I really enjoyed it. The hockey was great. Nova's a bit of a hothead. The two of them together were just hot. The hate that they had for each other was great, and I really liked the like secret identity aspect of it as well. Like that was interesting. And yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a good time. I would recommend. Next up, I read one of my other favorites of the month, which turned out being an honorable mention of my top 10 of the year, because that is Reckless by Elsie Silver. So I buddy read this one with one of my friends that we buddy read a book pretty much every month together, and this was one of my picks that I optioned up because I thought that she would like it, and she did end up really loving it. So Allie, if you're watching, I'm very glad that you loved it as well. So this one is the fourth book in the Chestnut Springs series by Elsie Silver, but again, you could read it, you could pick this one up and read it as a standalone if you wanted. Like for this one, Allie hadn't read like the first three. I've only read the first two. I don't really have any interest in reading Powerless, so I don't think I ever will. But Reckless I was always intrigued by because this one is Winter and Theo's story. And so Winter is very much this ice queen character, which I am so drawn to. And you've met her in the earlier books because her sister is the heroine in Flawless. So this one is a surprise pregnancy secret baby book, which I know, I hate secret baby. I hate it. But this totally worked. It totally worked with the secret baby trope. So anyways, Winter and Theo, one night when Winter is going out for, I think it's like Christmas, she's getting a divorce from her husband, and she is trying to get reconnected with her sister, who she has had a very bad relationship with over the course of the years, mostly because of her mother hating her sister because her sister was a result of an affair that her husband had. And they're trying to get reconnected now as adults, and Winter's on her way out to go and see her sister and her fiance's like family for Christmas. And when she is going out there, she stops at a gas station and she connects eyes with this one man, and she's like, this man is immediately like not my type. Her ex-husband is a doctor, very like tight-laced kind of dude, and this guy, he's like just raw, sexy, masculine, powerful. energy. He turns out to be a bull rider. And she's just instantly kind of like, what am I doing checking this man out? Like, I'm married, but then she's like, wait, I'm actually divorced. Like, I can be checking him out. But anyway, that turns out to be Theo, who is also on his way out to the ranch because he is friends with this group as well. And he's a bull rider, and immediately he just loves messing with Winter. The banter right off the bat between these two is great, and they end up having a one-night stand. And then afterwards, she tries reaching out to Theo, and things don't go great, and basically some time passes, and when he shows up back into town, she has kept her daughter's father's identity a secret. And when he shows back up and kind of acts like nothing she's like, what do you mean? It goes from there. Theo, I love this man. I love a cowboy. I was so obsessed with him. He is nothing like my usual type of men in real life or in books. But let me tell you, I was so attracted to this man right off the bat. I loved his love that he had for Winter too. He truly just accepted her as she was. He never wanted to change her. He never tried to be like, you should be more positive or like this or that. He just truly accepted her how she was and just wanted to show her the love that she's never really been shown over the course of her life, and show her that she's worthy and that she doesn't need to do everything on her own, and that he's there to help her, and that he wants to be there for her and their daughter. It's just so good. I feel like I don't like have a complaint about it, except that I wish that maybe like we would have seen them having another baby at the end. I actually like wanted a longer epilogue, but that's okay. I really loved this book, and yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I feel like I could ramble about it for a while, and I feel like this video is already getting long. I only have 3 left because I technically have 4, but I'm not going to talk about one of them. So, Season of Secrets by QB Tyler. Y'all, another favorite of the month. This shit was so good. So I got this one as an ARC, and once again, QB did that. She did that. So this one is technically like a prequel to The Worst Kept Secret with a different couple. So this one follows Wes and Reagan, and you do see them in The Worst Kept Secret quite a bit, but this is like their beginnings of how it all started. And I was so excited because when I read The Worst Kept Secret, I was like, I hope we are getting a Wes and Reagan book, because those two, like, they were like scene stealers whenever they were in it. So I'm so glad that we got to see how they started. So it's an age gap boss employee romance, and it's very like insta lovey, but it works. It just works in here. It's a shorter, I think it's maybe like around 230 pages. I say it's like a longer novella. Reagan has started this new job being an assistant to Wes at his company, and basically from the beginning she's been attracted to him, but she has not acted on it or anything, and he hasn't acted on it. But one of her friends and coworkers is like, do you see how like the boss is like really nice to you and he's not to all of us? And Reagan's like, what do you mean? I don't know. And then she kind of gets it in her head like, does he maybe actually like me? And then at the holiday Christmas party, she starts getting vibes, and they end up going back to his place, and they end up hooking up, and it just goes from there. It like moves pretty quickly because it's short. And let me tell you, Wes, if there was a Wes in real life, that'd be great. Actually, you know what? No, because I definitely would not snag him, so that would actually be hard to watch. But this man, he's so hot. And it's just QB's heroes, they're just all so good to the heroines. They're so nice to them. They support them. They communicate with them. They reassure them. They take care of them. Oh, it's so good. And also he's a billionaire, so they're going on his private jet, getting up to things on there. He's taking her shopping. It's great. It's great. And obviously it's boss employee, and there does like have to be that into the mix there, and like some sneaking around that has to be going on, because obviously that's not allowed. But it's just so fun. It's so good. I absolutely loved it. And again, I don't really have a single complaint about it. Okay, last 2 that I read another Christmas novella. This one was a little bit less just like smutty, but it still did have some heat in it. And that is Set the Record Straight by Hannah Bonham Young. So I have not read anything by this author before. I know so many of my friends love her books. I don't think her books are like going to be for me, but this one I was very intrigued by. It's a sapphic Christmas novella, and I thought that it sounded really cute. So I'm glad that I picked it up, and I did really enjoy it a lot. So it's Evangeline and now I can't remember. I can only ever remember one of their names. Anyways, it follows our 2 heroines. So they were childhood best friends, and now they're both adults, and they're still like kind of maintaining that friendship. One of them, she's a teacher, and she recently is broken up with her fiance, who is now with another teacher at the school, kind of like rubbing it in her face a little bit, and she's just not really having that. And the other heroine, she gets hired at this like art studio to study under this one woman that she like like really, really admires a lot. When she starts working there, she looks around and realizes, and she's like, oh my God, all of the people around me are like a part of the LGBTQ community. And she's like, did she think that I am too? And like, does she think that I am? And like, does she only hire people that are? Like, what am I gonna do? And when she gets invited to the staff like Christmas party, and the owner tells her like, bring your girlfriend with, then she's like, oh, do I need to find a girlfriend? Like, oh crap. So she ends up asking her friend Evangeline, aka Evan, but I'm gonna use Evangeline because that's my brother's name, and I don't like using my brother's name when we're talking about like romance books. So Evangeline, she ends up asking her, she's like, what do I do? They're out for drinks one night, and she's like, what am I gonna do? And she's like, why don't you just tell her, you can just tell her that you're straight. And she's like, no, I can't do that. I need to like find a fake girlfriend. And Evangeline's like, okay, sure, go for that. And then she's like, will you be my fake girlfriend? Because Evangeline's gay. And Evangeline ends up agreeing to it because here's the thing, she has always had a crush on her friend, but she's like, you know, I can't have a crush on my straight friend. She's like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna like go there. But then when they start like hanging out, and they end up making this like mutually beneficial arrangement where then she'll also come and be Evangeline's fake date to her Christmas party that her ex is hosting. And very quickly our one heroine realizes that she's not as straight as she thought she was, and she doesn't even really know where she falls anymore because she ends up falling in love with Evan. Their little like Christmas time romance. It's really cute. I really loved this. I thought it was super sweet. I loved the one heroine's parents, who they do end up like going home and spending Christmas with together. They were so cute and supportive, and yeah, I really enjoyed this. And last but not least, I read Wit by Cora Rose. So this one is an roommates romance. And let me tell you, sometimes the vibes are just there in the book. And the vibes were just there in this one. It was just fun. I just kind of got swept away in it right from the beginning. This is a book though that I like, when I was reading reviews and I saw some people's complaints, I was like, yeah, I would kind of agree with that, but I don't care, because you know what, it worked for me. It was just fun. It was just fun. Our two heroes though, they are roommates, and Wit is very like clean. He like things in order, and he's just very mysterious, very brooding, kind of like keeps to himself kind of guy. And our other hero is very like up in your face, very loud, just like kind of playful, very like golden retriever kind of energy. And when he ends up getting sick right at the beginning of the book, Wit ends up taking care of him, and they really kind of bond a little bit, and our one hero finds himself pretty attracted to Wit, even though he's only ever been with women before. So he's kind of like, is this just a Wit thing? Am I actually needing to like reevaluate things? But honestly, he doesn't really think too much about it. He's just kind of like, Wit's who I like right now, and that's what I'm gonna go for. And they just kind of evolve their bond a little bit. But Wit has some stuff that he is hiding in his past that starts to come into play and starts to cause some conflicts with them along the way. And I'll kind of leave it at that. This was just fun. It's super quick. It was very fast to read. It was fast paced. The romance was fast paced. I wish we would have gotten more of Wit's POV. I think we only ever got like a few random chapters here and there from him. I would have liked that it was either like all from the one's POV or more split. But anyways, I don't know what else to say. I just enjoyed it. It was fun. It was one that it's just like the vibes were there. Like I said, the vibes were there. That is the 12 books that I would recommend that I read in December. Now we are already into January. I'm already off to a good start. I started reading The Good Girl last night by Nikki Sloan, and I'm absolutely loving it. So I feel like I'm off to a good start. We're going to be mood reading all we want over the next year, and I think that's going to be good for us. Anyways, that is it for today's video, and I will see you when I see ya.